Hakea multilineata. It's the broadleaf form of multilineata. It comes from up around Woburn and places like that in Western Australia, and it has quite a nice flower. It's not quite as pink as some of the other multilineatas, but you notice with multilineatas the flower tends to twirl around the stem, whereas with a lot of the other Hakeas the flower is just straight up. So multilineata is a lovely Hakea to have, and it's nice green flower, green leaves I should say, and a lovely bushy plant. This is the common one that you see in Western Australia, and you can see that the leaves are nowhere near as wide as the one I previously showed you, and the flowers are a much deeper pink, and it's really quite attractive in flower, and a plant that you can grow in quite a range of soil types as long as they're well drained. So Hakea multilineata is a lovely one to have. Easy. This is one of the ones that a lot of people like to grow, Hakea francisiana, because of its lovely long beautiful pink flowers. It comes from more the arid areas of South Australia and Western Australia. It is a plant that grows very well north of our divide here in Victoria, but here in Colac it still does very well in a built-up bed, and this is only about 2.5 years old, this plant, but already it's producing the desired results, and there's still a lot of flowers to come on this. It has this lovely grey-greenish foliage, and it likes well-drained soils, and if you can have it in a raised bed, well then it will give you a lot of enjoyment. People think Hakeas are all got spiky needle-like foliage, but there's quite a number of Hakeas that have some very interesting foliage shapes, and this one is Hakea brownii, and it's called brownii because it has a lignite tuber, and whereas its other counterpart in Hakea baxterii is just a non-lignite tuberous plant and has a real straight stem, whereas this one is a number of stems all coming out from the ground. But the lovely fan-shaped leaves make it quite a decorative plant, and although the flowers are very tiny and not very colourful, the shape of the leaves make up for all the difference. The form of Hakea lasianthoides. Most people know lasianthoides from down around Albany, Augusta area, around the coastal part of Western Australia. But the northern form is a much more compact plant, nowhere near as high, a plant that in a lot lower rainfall, probably around about 30 inches in the old scale. But the beauty of it is that this plant is much more hardy for our gardens over here in the eastern states. You can see the flowers are quite attractive. They're not totally proliferous, but they do shine out quite nicely against the foliage of the plant. Yeah. All right, this is a fabulous plant, Hakea macraeana. It comes from the highlands from New South Wales, from around Goulburn south towards Cooma, and nearly into the to the Victorian border. It grows in forest country around about 2,000 metres or less, and it's a very adaptable plant to a lot of soil types. Does very well in Melbourne and other areas, and the beauty of it is that it forms this lovely compact bush, and it's a great windbreak, so as well as being nice and dense that the birds can nest in and so on. So it's one of the Hakeas that's very adaptable to quite a number of conditions, and it is well worth, if you've got a big enough garden, well worth having it as part of it. Hakea decurrens subspecies physocarpa, and it's found in quite a few parts of southern Victoria, and it's again another plant with prickly leaves, but again when it's in flower it's quite attractive, and again a great plant for birds, and quite often the flowers here are pollinated by insects. It's a very large seed capsule, and it has real masses of lovely pinky white flowers, and they're quite very numerous when they come out. But it's a lovely compact plant, again a bit prickly, but a lovely plant to have in the garden. It grows around the lower Blue Mountains near Sydney, and it's different to the some of the other Hakeas, sereceas and decurrens by the fact that its foliage is more or less a grey-green in colour, and you can also tell it the difference by the fact that the new growth is very silky and grey as well, but unfortunately this one's been hit a bit by the cold weather and probably a bit of frostbite as well. It's not high, it only grows to about 1.5 metres, but it's one that can add lovely texture to your garden. A beautiful little small plant, again comes from around the Sydney region, the lower Blue Mountains, and grows in sandstone country. This plant is poorly known in gardens, but it has short, fine terete foliage and lovely masses of white flowers. Again, one that we should be encouraged to grow because the fact that it hasn't got a big distribution area, and for that reason alone should be grown more in our gardens.